Hi again, Panther fans, and welcome to the Panther Insider Podcast, driven by Ford. This is Dave Cohen, the radio voice of the Panthers. Great to be back with you again. We're at our studios at Center Park Credit Union Stadium in Atlanta. On the latest podcast, we're talking to Georgia State Athletics Director Charlie Cobb, and there's lots to talk about. Panther football opening the regular season Friday night, September the 4th. Georgia State will host North Carolina A&T here in Atlanta. Georgia State football tickets for the 2026 season available online at georgiastatesports.com. You can also call the Athletics ticket office at 404-413-4020. Again, North Carolina A&T to open the season September the 4th. Charlie also recently hired two new basketball coaches, John Cremens for the men's team, Marcy Grayer for the women's team. And there will be baseball again on the site of Atlanta Fulton County Stadium property starting in 2027 with the new home of Panther baseball. And isn't Brad Stromdahl super excited, as we all are? So that and a whole lot more as we talk with Athletics Director Charlie Cobb. Quick reminder, if you've missed any of our previous podcasts, they're all available on our Apple Archives page. You can access that online at georgiastatesports.com. Right now, we welcome to the Georgia State Radio Network microphones the Panther Insider Podcast, Athletics Director Charlie Cobb. I think it was about a year ago that you and I sat here in your office here at the stadium for your last appearance on the Panther Insider Podcast. And as I said in the open, certainly a lot of subjects to talk about, but welcome to the podcast once again.
Yeah, Dave, thanks. Always exciting to be here with you. I get to see you way too much, so we certainly have a lot of offline conversations. But as I was reminded this morning, I ran into someone and they said, "Oh, I didn't realize you guys were here this summer." And we've had a busy summer, and it's been exciting to get some projects off the ground and really get forward, looking towards August and the start of another season for our sports teams.
All right, Georgia State football. It's, I say it, and it's the 17th season of Georgia State football upon us again. We'll open up with North Carolina A&T. Listen, we had a couple of tough seasons coming out of the Sean Elliott's last year. We're in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl out there in lovely Boise, Idaho. And then the last couple of years, it's been a little bit of a tough road to hoe. As college athletics and college football has changed, you and I have talked about that before, but looking forward to bigger and better things here in 2026.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, you have to be optimistic about what you're doing. It's what kind of fuels you, and certainly when you haven't had the success that you expect, you certainly want to make sure that you put the right pieces in place, and you got to believe in the coaches, you got to believe in the players, and certainly we have to do our part behind the scenes to provide the resources possible to give the coaches and the kids the ultimate chance to be successful. But an exciting schedule, but we obviously recognize that we've got to play better and be more competitive if we're going to get this thing turned around.
Yeah, I've talked to a couple of people about the schedule, and I said, okay, so we lost at Ole Miss, we lost at Vanderbilt. The Vanderbilt situation, listen, if somebody told you, and well, you did it. You were obviously, we scheduled Vanderbilt home and home. We beat Vanderbilt at home in Atlanta 2 years ago, and then, we did not play very well up in Nashville. But as it turned out, the back end of that boomerang was that we had to play two really top 10, top 15 SEC teams in the span of the first month of the season. But still, the fact that we won the home game, I think, it was obviously great. The schedule this year is much more set up, hopefully, to get off to a good start.
Yeah, you can play what-if scenarios across everything. The reality, we get a chance to schedule Vanderbilt. When Vanderbilt was not very good, I think a lot of people don't really understand the scheduling criteria that go in, but you certainly, you look at doing these games 4 or 5 years out, and you're kind of projecting. I kind of laugh. Sometimes we scheduled Army for a home and home, and I'm not sure they had won a game the year that we were scheduling, and all of a sudden Monken, they do a couple of things, and they have a really good team. There's some back and forth as to what, why, or how they knew plays we were running, and this, that, and the other. That's for another story for another day. But we won 2 out of 3 against West Point. But the one that we played here kind of sticks at everybody. We scheduled Western Michigan when Western Michigan had the 2 best years they've ever had. But again, it's trying to play this ebb and flow of, okay, do you wait, do you not? And but to schedule Vandy to get an SEC team that's going to play similar to what we did with North Carolina. We go up to Chapel Hill, and it's a tough game for us, but we're playing back here at home, and honestly a tie game, and we got the ball inside the 40 in the fourth quarter. Pretty good chance to make a mark for your program and build on it. So you can always play the what if game, but the reality of it is that we moved the Ole Miss game up to basically have a game for last year, have a revenue game, if you will, or money game. And nobody expected Vandy to have the year they've had. Murray was not very good, so it gives us a W. And then we had Memphis right where we wanted them, and then for all intents and purposes, Memphis lost to UAB 2 weeks later in the same scenario that we had, and we just had to finish the second half. But we got to get better playing in the Sun Belt, and that's probably been a big Achilles heel for us the last 2 years. We just haven't played very well in our league. So certainly look forward to a more favorable non-conference schedule per se. You never know where teams are in this transfer world, but certainly getting games at home and Sun Belt games are where we need to improve.
I always say turning a football program around is trying to turn around an aircraft carrier because there's so many moving pieces. You know this because obviously you played and you've now been the athletic director at Appalachian State and Georgia State and been a part of college football for many, many years, whereas basketball, and we're seeing hopefully this transition here at Georgia State now, and we'll talk about that here coming up, you're dealing with 12, 13 players. It's so much more manageable with less moving parts than a football program when you're trying to, change the fortunes.
Yeah, but I think every sport's gotten to a place where it's the volatility in your roster is tremendous. We've had, pretty significant turnover in every sport, but we're not alone in that situation. I think football's become more like basketball, and but throwing baseball, throwing volleyball, throwing soccer, we're dealing with it as a mid-major program, and everybody at our level is dealing with it, so it's it's part of the new world that is athletics, and those that figure out to make those pieces work better and faster are going to be there, because we're not going to be able to compete financially. If we got a kid that's going to be, excel individually, he's going to be on somebody's roster, but that's not just Georgia State. That's every school in the Sun Belt and every school at our level. So we have to figure out ways to, constantly be on the lookout. Everybody wants to get older, so where do high school kids fit into the recruiting process? And again, the challenge is that there's an economic piece of this, but then there's also a roster management piece that you want to try to create environments where your team is better than the individual. And I think that's, I can't say I'm the greatest soccer fan in the world, but I love the narrative that everybody talks about Spain, that they don't have the individual players, but they play as a team. And they certainly, the group outshines one or two key individuals from other countries. And that's where every school's got to get to, and you get lucky with it. Been a part of some really, really good teams that were led by players that certainly nobody expected to be the player that they were. Been around some that people have great expectations for kids that they end up not meeting those expectations. So we certainly got to get kids on campus, get them inducted into our programs, and then let them play and see what they can do.
All right, again, one of the other topics, and we'll maybe touch back on football in the coming season here in the second segment. I think that, honestly, that you hit a couple of home runs on your two basketball hires, John Cremens for the Georgia State men's team and Marcy Grayer for the Georgia State women's team.
Yeah, we're excited about what the coaches and their staffs can do for us. Certainly high energy. Obviously, when you make changes, you're looking to go in a different direction and a different mindset. But again, the volatility of where college basketball is, you're always constantly in this day and age. You're recovering and repeating a roster, and so a fresh set of eyes, a fresh approach, certainly gives us a chance. But proof's in the pudding. We'll get ready to play in October and see where we are. But certainly the summer workouts have been interesting. Really excited about what our guys look like, and what their commitment to playing together, I think, has been a big key. But the coaches, they've got a plan, they've got a program, and they're used to dealing with this environment. And the more that we can do to help them, from an NIL and revenue share standpoint, it helps us from recruiting because people can bury their head in the sand and say, hey, it's X, Y, and Z. The reality of it is the kids that we're trying to recruit across our sports, they have other opportunities. And so at the end of the day, it's everything that we can do to maximize what Georgia State can offer, and right, wrong, or indifferent. It's part of the puzzle now, and so we'll see. But excited about where they are, but I certainly don't want to give up on the fall yet. We've got some great sports and great coaches putting programs out there that we want to support.
And we're going to touch on the fall sports as well. Let me stick with basketball. What was it about Coach Cremins and Coach Grayer that ultimately led to the decision to bring them on? Obviously he knew the Sun Belt, had been at a number of Sun Belt schools, and had, obviously came to us from Vanderbilt after being there for a couple of years. And Coach Grayer was out in Salt Lake City, and as you said, they kind of know the lay of the land that we operate now in college football, because she'd been at the junior college / community college level out there at Salt Lake, dealing with players coming and going all the time.
Yeah, it's when you do a search, it's always interesting because you get 1,000 opinions and thoughts, and you try to kind of circle it and figure out what your needs are. And we felt like that we needed coaches that were used to dealing at the level that we want to play at. And I'm going to speak to Marcy first, and then I'll talk about John. But when we evaluated the women's program, the reality of it is somebody who's dealt with this transfer world that exists now. Kids are chasing the next great opportunity, right or wrong. There's certainly not a thought or an idea that kids are going to sit and develop, and everybody wants the immediate. That's what she lives with in her experience of dealing at the junior college level. She had a number of players that were playing for Sunbelt, other group of 5, maybe not a group of 6 schools. So she knew our league. She knew coaches in our league. She knew style of play. And so, my biggest concern when she came across our radar, we interviewed her and really enjoyed the conversation and liked her knowledge and her vision for basketball and her program. But I really want to see how they play. And so she sent us a couple of tapes of her games. And, I told her, I said, look, send me the best game you've ever coached, the worst game you've ever coached, and then one that you think represents your program the best. And so she sends us to us, and we look at them, and you realize that there was her demeanor, things we were looking for. And then in the conversations with people then within our league, we obviously talked to a number of coaches, talked to, maybe 12, 15 coaches, and really kind of get a sense of, okay, well, what about this person? What about that person? People that you trust and respect, or you feel like have knowledge of the game. And so, she kept coming across our radar screen as to how we end up having that conversation to begin with. Really excited about the staff she's put together. Really, really excited about her vision in terms of a team being young, old, and trying to mend together. It's what the summer allows for basketball, with all the workouts to try to build a culture within your team. And so we're excited where she can be and where we can be, because I've always thought that one of the things that's fascinating me about Georgia State is that our women's program, I think we've gotten 3 NCAA banners, and they're all in consecutive years when Lee was here. I'm not really sure why we've never done it before or after, and it's always kind of been an interesting conversation. You walk in the convocation center and you see the banners hanging, and you're like, wow, there should be more. And so hopefully she can take us to that direction. As far as Coach Cremins, you alluded to it. He's got great knowledge of the Sun Belt, tremendous success. If you look at what they did at James Madison, but also at Vanderbilt with Mark and his staff, just crazy to think that Vanderbilt would have the success they've had. And yes, they've had tremendous donor support to help make that program work, but it's not to the level. It's at a level now, but just for them to get to that place, to have to build it, they needed to have success. First, and obviously a tough league. Guys recruited everywhere. A guy's been a part, but they really lays heavily on analytics and really lays heavily on the fact of competition. The very first practice they had here this summer, they're videoing the entire practice and videoing the entire workout. They're charting everything the kids are doing, and then they've got a whole algorithm that they can show. And so, to give you an example, if a kid says, "Hey, I want to be the guy that takes a 3 at the end of a game," well, they're going to have a whole summer's worth of data that'll say, okay, well, Dave's the best three-point shooter we have. Charlie may be the worst, so why is Charlie, wanting to be the guy to take that shot? The data and the work and all the things that they've done from a drill standpoint, from a coaching standpoint. Really impressed with the roster we've put together. We've gotten bigger, faster, stronger just by, accumulating players. Now it's just a matter of, okay, can these guys all work together? Because the one thing that, whether it's men's basketball or women's basketball, the beauty of it is, and I've jokingly said this to people, there are a gazillion kids that go into the portal. Nobody goes into the portal because they want to be a better teammate, because they want to rebound more, they want to pass the ball more, they want to play better defense. Every kid's going in the portal because they think they're the guy that can be the scorer. And you have to basically weigh that with the idea or thought that, hey, man, we got to play as a team because there's only one ball. And only so, you can only have 3, maybe 4 guys on a team that are, quote, scorers. You got to have a lot of guys that play roles and really, define what those roles are, communicate what those roles are, and then get everybody to buy in. And that's a huge part of team success, and I think that's where we've got to get that culture established pretty quickly.
Well, I know we got college football to go through and enjoy before that, but looking forward to Georgia State basketball, men's and women's, as you said, when we get to October. Lots to talk about. Again, our studios here at Center Park Credit Union Stadium, right across the street on the site of the old Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. Rising up out of the dirt and the rubble, a brand-new baseball stadium for Brad Stromdahl and the Georgia State baseball program. And we're going to talk with Charlie about that and fall sports, soccer, volleyball, so on and so forth, as we continue our conversation with the Director of Athletics here at Georgia State University, Charlie Cobb. We'll get to that following these words from Ford and Center Park Credit Union.
Wherever you go this fall, greatness starts in a Ford SUV. That's because Ford Escape, Explorer, and the spirited Bronco Sport SUVs have the power, cargo space, and smart tech you need for tailgating on game day, camping under the stars, fall festivals, romantic dinner dates, concerts, antiquing, pumpkin picking, weekend getaways, school plays. For great offers on these versatile SUVs, see your local Ford dealer today. Greatness starts here.
Center Park Credit Union, the official financial sponsor of GSU football, is proud to be a part of the Georgia State community and the Panther athletics program. Center Park provides members convenient financial services. In addition to online banking, mobile banking, and 7 Metro Atlanta branches, Center Park members have access to 5,000 co-op shared branches and 75,000 surcharge-free ATMs nationwide. To find a location near you, visit online at centerpark.org/contact, and that's park with a C. Not a member? Join today at centerpark.org. At Center Park, we help our members flourish.
Ranked alongside MIT and Stanford as one of the most innovative institutions in the country, Georgia State University is leading change in higher education. Few institutions have come so far so fast. We've proven that students from all backgrounds can succeed at the same level. We're changing the way our students are learning, helping them graduate faster, and save millions on the pathway to their degrees. It's no wonder the Washington Post called us a hotbed of growth and innovation. Think you know Georgia State? Think again.
We're back on the Panther Insider Podcast, driven by Ford. We're talking Georgia State athletics with the Director of Athletics, Charlie Cobb. We've talked Georgia State football. We've gone in depth on Georgia State basketball with 2 brand new basketball coaches, and currently under construction right across the street. And we're at Center Park Credit Union Stadium, recording this at our studios. Brand new baseball stadium on the site of the old Fulton County Stadium. And Charlie, it's been talked about for a number of years. It's fantastic to drive by and look over and see that we've got a baseball stadium, and you can recognize it now. It's a baseball stadium. It's not just there's not just dirt on the site. It's a baseball stadium. And what a great thing, because when it's all said and done, and Brad and the Panthers will play there this coming season in 2027, from a facility standpoint, you've got, if you're coming from downtown campus and you're coming down Capitol Ave, on your right, you've got the still, I still call it the relatively still new Georgia State Convocation Center, because it looks great. It's only 3 years old. Going to have baseball, and then you've got Center Park Credit Union Stadium. From a facility standpoint, this is going to be the best situation Georgia State's had in the history of the athletic department.
Yeah, and I think you also you forgot the soccer facility on 188 MLK. So, it's been a long-range vision to get our facilities downtown, near the downtown campus. Really excited about the baseball stadium. Certainly a great legacy of sports at Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. Obviously the historic Hank Aaron March for 715. The Braves playing there a number of years. The Falcons, Peach Bowl, concerts. People forget the Atlanta Chiefs played. A long list of folks that played in the stadium, and certainly part of the commitment that we made years ago when we came into Summerhill and took over the stadium to build out a sports neighborhood, if you will, and really kind of embrace it. But if anything, I'm excited about the idea of just having this facility near our campus for faculty, staff, students, and then alumni. It's a central point for people to come and really help elevate our program because, Sunbelt's easily one of the top 4, if not 5, baseball leagues in college baseball. And so at the end of the day, it gives us a chance to be competitive and certainly a facility that we all are going to be proud of.
Couple of questions, and you probably have gotten them too. The only statue that the Braves did not take with them up 75 to Truist was the Hank Aaron statue. Will that be moved over into the plaza to be a part of the baseball stadium? And also for years out in the parking lot was that memorial to the home run for Hank Aaron. Somebody said, well, I don't see it out there. And I said, well, it's probably just been taken down briefly for the construction process to take place. I don't know that it'll go back exactly where it was, but maybe it will. I'll let you answer that.
We've got plans in place and introduced concepts that are going to honor Hank Aaron in particular, but also the Braves and the other events that were in the stadium. The focus for us has been to build a baseball stadium that Georgia State can use and occupy and really build our program, and in the process honor the commitments and the heritage and the history of the stadium. The statue is being moved. We took it down. If you come by the stadium now, the statue got moved or taken down a couple weeks ago, or a couple months ago, I should say, to basically be repaired. And certainly it will be a central part of when you walk into the stadium. It's going to be a central point. It's the one thing that the Aaron families ask us to do to help, remember the commitment and the idea that the Braves and Aaron and Mr. Aaron played in the stadium. The wall that was in the parking lot's always been the one that's kind of funny to me, because if anybody who knows history and watches it, the wall that the Hank Aaron's home run went over was actually a plexiglass wall, and the wall that's in the parking lot was a cinder block wall with a chain link fence that was put up sometime in the mid '90s as a designation. We're gonna replicate that as part of our stadium project. I don't want to go too much further into details on some of the things because we've got plans to introduce basic concepts, relying on the idea that we're going to honor the history of the facility. But we certainly will have markers and remembrances for the significant moments, including those with Hank Aaron in the facility.
The stadium, the new stadium, will it seat around 1,200, 1,500 people?
Yeah, it's the stadium's around 1,000, and we certainly have the ability to build out if demand ever takes us to that place. Sometimes you get laugh at people that, hey, you want to do more. Let's appreciate what we have. We're going to have an incredible pitching facility down the first base line. The dugouts are going to be expanded, and you'll notice it, but it's a huge piece for our program, for the kids, our coaches, to be able to move around. The sight lines are going to be impeccable. It's a opportunity for us to really expand on what we have and give us a place to go play and practice that's going to give us a chance to be competitive. And then if we get to a place where we're playing well and can host regionals and do those kind of things, we certainly have plans in place to where we can add additional structures. But it's always fascinating that it needs to be bigger, better now. The reality of it is we're building what we can afford, and we've done yeoman's work to get to this place, and certainly excited about what it offers.
Well, for those that don't know, another cool aspect for Georgia State baseball is that they are basically based and housed here at Center Park Stadium. Their main locker room is the Braves' old locker room, and they get use of the old indoor hitting facility. And Georgia State baseball is going to have a great situation now that their stadium will be right across Hank Aaron Way, so they'll still have their locker room and all of that facility here inside Center Park Stadium, and all they're going to have to do is really walk across the street to enter and play in the new stadium.
Yeah, we're fortunate with the facilities that the Braves left us, but it's a massive clubhouse inside the stadium that we've done some renovations before prior to all this. But you've got a massive clubhouse, you've got a hitting pitching facility here in the stadium, and then we're adding an additional building. You'll see it when it's being built, and you'll understand for those that actually care. But the reality of it is we're going to have an enviable situation for our baseball program. And then now we've answered the questions for soccer. We've answered the questions for basketball. We've answered the question for football. Now baseball. What do we do for softball? What do we do? Can we figure out, something to do from a tennis and a track standpoint? But we're trying to give our sports facilities that can be representative of the level of competition that we play, and then also answer the question of, hey, make it as fan-friendly as possible. But it's going to be a cool environment. The views just from sitting behind the plate, looking back up into downtown, to recognize the key parts of what we offer. But it's exciting, and it's been a project for us that's really been talked about for probably 10 years. Just like the basketball arena and or the football stadium. When's Georgia State going to have their own stadium? It's an opportunity for us to continue to grow and expand our program to be competitive with our peers.
And as you said, this was one of the best years for Sun Belt Conference baseball. A record 5 teams reached the NCAA tournament. Prior to that, 2-3 years ago, we had 4 back-to-back, 2 last year. Troy makes the College World Series this year, a year after Coastal Carolina was in the College World Series again, playing for a national championship. So when we talk about Sun Belt Conference athletics, certainly a lot of the focus is on football and during the season men's and women's basketball, but baseball is really might be their second best sport.
Baseball is easily the Sun Belt's second best sport, and it's a reality for us. It's an opportunity for us to expand on the portfolio of our program. It's certainly an enrollment vehicle for our campus, just like every sport is, to create energy and excitement around Georgia State. We've got a number of staff members whose kids are playing travel baseball this summer, and they all come back. We have staff meetings on Tuesday, and everybody talks about the conversations around the new stadium within the travel baseball world. Same conversations happen with basketball. That's why we host, GHSA events in the football stadium. We host them in the basketball arena, and we'll certainly do it with the baseball. Really trying to look at expanding ways for kids to come visit our campus, because we may recruit them as student athletes, but we also are going to try to recruit them as students to come to our campus and create, an environment that Georgia State is top of mind for kids to come to school.
Fall sports just ahead of us as well. Georgia State historically has been a fantastic soccer school. It's been a fantastic beach volleyball school and court volleyball school over the years. Of course, it can be a little bit of a roller coaster ride as you look back, but historically, Georgia State has been strong in those sports as well. And again, all those fall sports, I know softball coming up as well. There's a lot about to go on here as we move through the month of August into September.
Yeah, it's right around the corner. Soccer teams have already reported even as we record this, much less when it airs. But we have great excitement. We got a great group of coaches, men's and women's soccer teams, real high expectations for where they are. The men's team is in an incredible league because we added a couple Power 4 schools several years ago under the Sun Belt umbrella. Probably in hindsight, not the right decision from a competitive standpoint, but certainly one that is a challenge every year in and year out. The women's team we're a veteran team. Ed's done a great job of recruiting. Great mix of players. We've got some outstanding players. We've got a new court volleyball staff. We'll see how Coach Martinez and those guys do. We're excited about the roster. On paper, it looks to be a competitive team. We'll see how they play. And then cross country track is always one that's been interesting for us. We're a little bit behind the 8 ball given lack of our own facility, but with cross country. A number of kids that have played and run for us. We've kind of gotten over the hump of trying to put a roster together with some attrition. But certainly excited about what our teams can do this fall, and really excited about the caliber of kids. Because the one thing we don't really worry about too much, and I hope I don't jinx myself by saying this, but we got really good kids. You see it in how they perform across the board academically. We don't really worry about, from a social standpoint, we don't worry about kids. It's a matter of can we provide the best environment for them to really maximize their athletic ability and help our teams be successful. And that's always the challenge year in and year out. It's what keeps you hungry and keeps you motivated to make it work.
Wanted to mention men's and women's golf as well.
Yeah, we had a good close to the year. They'll play a little bit in the fall, but their competitive seasons more into the spring. But certainly a great group of guys and really two young coaches that really understand the value of being student athletes and being what the college experience is about. So we're excited. Again, we feel good about where we are with our staff. We feel where we good are with our coaches, and it's just a matter of, can we put some things together in place and have a competitive year across the board.
We're here at Center Park Credit Union Stadium on the Panther Insider podcast driven by Ford. We've talked about facilities. A few months ago, the university released, we'll call them somewhat long-term plans on facility upgrade in this quadrant where you and I are right now. Anything new, exciting regarding Center Park Stadium as we get ready to head into year 17 for Georgia State football?
Yeah, no, the only thing I'll say is that, one of the things that's always been interesting in this new world of athletics, the notion or idea of revenue creation and using facilities to create revenue. And it's been one that I've kind of laughed at over the years because we've tried to maximize weekends, dates, to do things here at the stadium, whether it's concerts, whether it's car shows, whether it's festivals, whether it's bike rides or run, walk, races, be a community asset in that regard. And I just really, I'm thankful that we've got a staff that's willing to meet the challenge. This summer we'll have had a couple of concerts. We've got a band contest. We've had high school football games. We've had a number of commercial shoots, TV shows, things that, the outside person may look at and go, wow, we didn't know this was going on. I don't know how many people who would listen to this understand that the Chad Powers, there's 3 seasons of Chad Powers, and they filmed all 3 seasons here at the stadium. Well, that takes a dedicated staff and people around to make that happen, but certainly then we can create some revenue that go back to help make our athletic program, work and help add to it. So it's a lot of dedicated people who work nights and weekends that people don't know anything about. That are, again, selflessly providing, an opportunity for our kids and our programs to be successful. But, what we hope to do with the stadium going forward, this is a massive space, and we've got an opportunity to really carve out some space that's, underutilized or not utilized at all. And can we start that process of looking at, we've got some basic plans, but can we further down the long line, can we start demolition and then really figure out, okay, what does it look like? Is it housing? Is it retail? Is it an indoor practice pavilion? Is it a softball stadium? Is it other facilities? Things that we can do to kind of create this neighborhood that, again, builds camaraderie within athletics. And one of the challenges that I've always expressed to people is an athletic director is you look at it, we've got 16 sports, we've got 13 coaching staffs. And building a camaraderie among those coaches is just as important as it is about building a camaraderie among our student athletes. Our student athletes are all interact with each other, especially socially, and certainly pull for each other and cheer for each other. But how do we build that camaraderie among our staff? And if you're in 4 or 5 or 6 different places, as we all know, geography can create division. And so what we try to do is pull everybody together so that we all, everybody's on the same page, and certainly one of those situations where we're all pulling for each other and making it work. And so that's what this can provide. It's an opportunity, but we don't have unlimited resources. We don't have an unspendable budget. We have certain challenges every year as any program like us would have. And so how do we maximize those resources? What can we do that can help provide the world for us? I've been asked several times, it's the idea of private equity. Could I use pick a number, $30 million, $40 million, $50 million to make our athletic program work? Absolutely. The challenge for us is I don't know how to pay back $35, $45, $55, $60 million because we don't have the lucrative TV contracts, media contracts that the Power 4 schools have. Schools at our level just don't have, those resources available to us. But you also realize the strings that come with that. It's why there are very few, those deals. There's a lot of conversation about it, but there's certainly not a lot of execution because people are incurring massive amounts of debt. We don't have the ability to incur massive amounts of debt. the baseball project, if you're going to build a bigger stadium, well, there's going to be debt associated with that. We don't have any debt once this project is completed, and so we have to operate on a little bit different operating system maybe than some others will. But those are the challenges and the realities that we have, and we operate from it. And so at the end of the day, everybody's got ideas. We all got ideas. We got a laundry list of things that we wish we could do and want to do and should do. The challenge for us always is how do we pay for them? How do we make it work? And certainly that's the reality of sitting in the chair. That's what we get to do.
Charlie, always a pleasure. I'm sure we could sit here for another 30 minutes to an hour and dissect the world of college athletics, and maybe we'll do it again on an upcoming podcast. But appreciate all the insight and the info. Again, football just around the corner, September the 4th, North Carolina A&T, season tickets available, and it's always appreciated.
Yeah, Dave, thanks. And anybody listening, if you want, how can I help? It's real simple. We buy tickets, give money to the athletic association or to the Panther Athletic Club. Help us, with the rev share for our kids. It's a resource world we live in today, and we certainly are trying to do our due diligence in terms of monitoring expenses and making sure that we're doing things in the best cost efficient manner possible. But we certainly need people to be a part of what we're doing and support us and support us financially and support us emotionally. So thank you.
All right, that'll wrap it up for this Panther Insider podcast driven by Ford. Want to thank the Director of Athletics, as always, Charlie Cobb, for joining us on this latest podcast. Follow Georgia State football all season online at georgiastatesports.com. You can follow us on the radio network on WRAS-FM 88.5 in Atlanta, WGTJ-FM 97.5 in Gainesville, Hall County, and across North Georgia, online at lowcountryradio.com, and obviously on your iPhone or iPad by listening to us via the GSU Athletics app. Again, looking forward to a 17th season coming up for Georgia State football. Don't forget, we're back talking Georgia State athletics again soon on the next Panther Insider podcast driven by Ford. So for the Director of Athletics, Charlie Cobb, Dave Cohen saying thanks for listening. We'll see you at Sutter Park Stadium, the GSU Convocation Center, come the fall, the brand new baseball stadium. And as we always say, go Panthers!
GSU!